Okay. So under the class folder, create a file class1.js, class1.js. Import React, comma, component from React. So in that now we will write a class. In the React base, you have two type of component. One is based on class, that is called class component, and second is based on function, that is called functional component as a hooks. So functional component is so now we are going to see the class component. Class component. Okay. We are going to see now all class component. Class component. So in class component, we have to import the React, and along with the React, we have to import one more component, that is called one more class, that is called component. This is called as a class only, but it's called as an interface. You can see here. I move the mouse. Alias class component, right? You see alias class component. Component is a kind of a class only that we are going to import. It's a ready-made class under the React. There we will be creating a class, our own class, class name, my class one, extends component, extends component. Come down below, export default my class one. Export default my class one. Okay, right after that, come under this class, and under the class we have to follow one predefined function that is called constructor. Constructor is required every time. Now under the constructor you have to call the super. Then after that you will come down. You will write one more function called render. R-E-N-D-E-R. Render. So my class one extends component constructor super render. After that, right, these functions are required every time. So in the class functional component, if you remember, in functional component we have written directly return, but here you cannot write directly return. You have to write the return under the render function. Render function is responsible to print the output in the class component. In class component, if you want to print any output, we have to use the render function. Render function we have to use to print any kind of output in the class component. Without render function, we can't do that. So render function is required in the class component to print any kind of output. Okay, now come inside return. Under the return, we have to write a division here. Class name, you can use any class. Maybe suppose container we can use. We can write here a division, or we can write one h1 or h3 class component and set state example. Set state example. Class component and set state example. We can write text hyphen center empty4. So ready, written. Now come back to the, see the class. When we write a class component, it's an old method, it is not new method. New method is a functional component only, that is based on your hooks method. But we need to know the class component also. we need to get some idea on class component also. Maybe sometime if the project will get assigned, then okay, then it will be the problem to handle the task. So in that case, we have to manage both the case. If it is the class component, then also fine. If it is the functional component, then also you should be okay. Now, so while writing the class component, what are the things we have to follow? React we have to import, and again, when we import the React, along with that, we have to import one more predefined class that is called as a component. Component and React both you have to import. After importing the component, you have to create your own class that we created here, my class one, and we are taking all the feature from component. Component is the predefined class. Under the component predefined class, we have some list of functions are available. That function we are importing, we are extending under the my class one. So my class one will have all the feature of component class. Then under the class object, whenever you do the extends, you have to use the constructor. Whenever you use the extends, you have to use the constructor, and under the constructor, super will be required. Super will be required. Now, suppose in this file, we are not creating any variable, we are not writing any state management. If you skip constructor, then it will work. But as soon as you use any variable, you use any kind of function, then constructor will be required at that time. So let's keep a habit. We will keep the constructor every time. Whenever we have a requirement, we will use it. Under the constructor, we are going to define the variable. We are going to create variable, create array, state related everything. Render function is the predefined function. The render function used to display the output in the browser. Using the render function, you can display the output in browser. Without render function, you cannot display the output in browser. Okay, so render function will be compulsory every time. So sequence will be import the component. After importing the component, create a class, inherit the feature from the component, extends the feature from component, follow the constructor, follow the render, and then now we will keep two alert, or let's come first we'll link under the routing and we'll see this page is loading or not. If loading, then we can do something next. Return where? Without return, it will not print you anything. Wherever you call this function class, my class one, it has to print something. No? For that, this is required. This is required. Return. Return you have not written only today. Can you open your previous file? Huh? Read? Render. Yes, render. Inside the render is a function here. Render the function, it has to print something. Okay, it has to return something. Function has to return, then only it will print. It will not return, it will not print. Function must return the value. If it will not return, it will not print anything. Okay. Okay, hope added. Now come to the app.js file. In the app.js file, okay, next after that, come to the app.js file. In app.js file, you can import here, import my class one from class one.js. So ready. Now come down below, add a link here. Class one, class two, class three, you can keep adding. You can add here a class one, we can write even class one. Then we can go ahead next, save the file and add a link below. Add a link below. Then add a link below. Class one, my class one, my class one. Okay, hope ready. Check now. Is it loading or not? Is it loading? Class one, it says class one is loaded. Class one component is working. Next, after that, after that, after that, after that, link to class one, my class, link class one. Next, after that, we have to after that come to the component which is loading for you both. That is the JSON server. That is JSON server. No? That is not React project. You see, React project is like this. That because of you will never make a note. React will compile how npm start and how to start the JSON server. You remember? How? What you are given the port number in the last? That is which port number 1234. 1234 you are not given. On port number 3000, this server started. Close that. Okay, show me. Now it is showing because on port number 3000, see your port space 123 will be there. Huh? Now look at here how I have written. Can you see here? Look at here. See you there. What is showing here? Minus minus port space 1234. What here it can check once. Show him once. Again we start the React server. Close the CMD first. CMD already running there. The server is running on 3000 port number. How many CMD you have? Only this one. So this is running on 3000 port number. Again you did mistake. Just now. No, look at here. What is the written here? Minus minus port is written. So you have not written minus minus port. Minus minus port. Space 1234. Okay. Now go there. Visual project. npm start. npm start. That code is not required. Directly you can write npm start. So that time also was coming. Because you have not given the minus minus code first time. First time minus minus port you have given space, you have not given here. Space I guess, but it changed to yes. That's what I'm saying. First time when you run the server, space was not here. Second time once you run the server, you have not given the minus minus. Okay, now it is working. Remember that. Okay, now so this is ready. Next, what we'll do is come to the class one component. Under the class one component, so how to create the component? We have to write import React component name from React class my class one extends component. After that constructor, we follow the super. Next after that, we follow a render function to print the statement. Now coming down under the render function, we use the division class container, and here we are printing the h3. This h3 will appear in your browser, something like this. Next, after that, let's go and understand how to create the variable under the class component. And let's understand the sequence also. There is a two function, constructor and render. Which one will execute first? Write as a alert under the constructor. You can write here constructor is the one. Come to the render alert receive from render. Okay. Class component and set state example. Next, after that, check now which alert is coming first, constructor or render.
Constructor, sir.
People ask in interview what is the sequence of people will ask in interview what is the sequence of constructor, and first people ask what is the life cycle method in React. Life cycle function. So in the life cycle function, those functions are, that is the predefined function. Those function that predefined function, and that function will execute automatically according to sequence. Those functions those are predefined function, and that function will execute automatically as per the sequence. Okay, those function, that is the predefined function, and that function execute automatically as per the sequence. So what you can see is, you can see here we have one function called constructor, and we have one more function called render. Constructor and render, two functions are there, constructor and render. Now both function is predefined, and when we have written the alert, then we come to know constructor is calling first and render is calling second. Constructor is calling first and render is calling as a second. Right? Constructor is first and render is second. Now constructor is first and render is second, then why can't under the constructor we can create some variable and we can use under the render? So let's go how to create a variable in class component. You have to use this dot state. It is a predefined object. It's a predefined object. Using this object only you can create a variable under the class component. That is called a state variable. This dot state equal to flower bracket should open and close. This dot state equal to flower bracket should open and close, and under this flower bracket, under the flower bracket you can write, suppose a variable called counter key and value. This dot state become as a object where name become as a key, and you can say counter become as a key, and 100 will become as a value. This dot state is the predefined array of your class component. It's come from the component class. This dot state is a predefined array. It's come from the component class. This dot state is the predefined. It's come from the component class. There we are writing this dot state equal to counter colon 100. So indirectly counter is the part of a state, And if you want to print the counter, you have to write this dot state dot counter. This dot state dot counter. Let me go here and print here one h1. Under the h1, you can print here this dot state dot counter. This dot state dot counter. This dot state dot counter. You will see once you go to the browser, you will see 100 will appear by default. Because first constructor will come, constructor will get assigned with the value. Under the constructor, variable will get assigned with the value. Render will come and render will print the value. You saw the sequence. First constructor will call, constructor will come and constructor will assign the value to a variable. After that, constructor will assign the value to a variable. After that, render will come and render will print the value of the variable. Check now what is printing. Printing is how much? 100. Printing is 100. Now let's go here. Write one more object call. Assume like you have a variable called counter, then user colon 300. Assume you have one more value, city colon, or maybe let's keep city colon Bangalore. So how many value is you stored? You stored multiple value, counter, user, city. Now all the value can be printed easily inside the page. Okay, so I will be on a call for a minute. Okay, position now. So how many variable you create? It's an array, yeah, just like the array. You created an array of multiple object and store under the variable called this dot state. And how many variable you created? How many object you created? Counter, user, and city. Print below all. Go here and print here call this dot state dot this dot state dot this dot state dot user this dot state dot user, this dot state dot city, this dot state dot counter, this dot state dot user, this dot state dot city. So written this dot counter, this dot state dot user, this dot state dot city. Save the file, check once. All three values are printing 100, 300, and then Bangalore. Now, how this is happening? Just this dot state is the array, predefined array. Inside that, you have stored three objects: name, user, and city, and you print it down. In case if you want to increase the value of counter, you want to increase the value of city, user, you want to change the value of city, you have to write the function for that, then only you can change. And again, on button click, you have to call the function, then only you can change it. So let's go create a button below. Create a button below. Suppose I'll write a HR. I'll write a HR color equal to green color, size equal to size equal to 10, color equal to HR color equal to green, size equal to 10. So one green color line should get created, or at least a gray color line will get created. A gray color line will get created from beginning to last. Gray color line will get created from beginning to last. Gray color line is ready. Green is not coming because in Bootstrap the color is different. HR color is different. Now write a button here. Button right here called plus the counter plus the counter plus the counter by 10 plus the counter by 10. So once you click on this button, the counter will get increased by 10. Okay, button is ready. Check now, one button should appear here. The counter by 10. Now, right inside that, now what should happen when we click on the button? We have to change the value of counter. So directly you cannot change. Directly you cannot change. You have to click on button and then you need to call a function. After that only you can change the value. After clicking on button, the function will be called and function will change the value of the counter. Now see how it is going to happen. Write a function here called function1 equal to cons also you can apply or not, but fat arrow key is compulsory here. You have to write. Cons is not required. Directly fat arrow method you follow and keep as a alert here first and then check button click this will call or not.
Sir, Hello, sir.
Okay, function 1 is ready.
Hello, sir.
Now, function 1, we have to call here on click,
Hello.
on click, on click equal to, we have to call the function. We need to call the function 1, but you can't call directly function 1. You have to write here this dot function 1. On click equal to, you have to call this dot function 1. The extra thing will get applied, that is called this. While calling the variable also, while calling the function also, the this keyword will get applied. Why? Because it is a class. Why? Because it is a class.
Sir.
Tell me, sir.
Sir, in function 1, why const is not necessary, sir?
In the class component, const is not required. Const is required only under the functional component. Hooks.
Okay.
Button click, check now, alert is coming. Button click, if alert is coming, then in the functional component, state management is different, and in the class component, state management is different. Okay. In functional component, class component is different. State management will be in different way. In class component, it will be in different way. Now let's go. In functional component, how you used to create a variable? Const, variable name, function name, use state, right? Here, the variable you can create like this. This dot state equal to n number of variable you can create like this, and you can assign the default value or you cannot assign the default value. All are fine. Okay. But if you want to change the value of this counter, you cannot change it directly. You have to call a other function. With the help of other function only you can change the value. What is that function? This function called set state. Using set state, we can change the value of any variable here. This all are called a state variable. This all are called a state variable. So the value of a state variable can be changed only and only with the help of set state function. So let me go here. After going at this place, we can write here this dot set state. This dot set state. This dot set state. This dot set state. Under the set state, this dot set state, under the set state, see set state is the function. Set state is the function, but why we have used inside the flower bracket? Because you can see here, suppose if you want to change the value of one variable, if you want to change the value of two variable, if you want to change the value of multiple variable value we can change easily. For that we have followed the set state. Inside the set state, flower bracket is compulsory every time. And after that you have to call your variable name that you want to change the value. So we want to change the value of which one? Counter. And by how much? Counter value we want to change by 10. So first you have to take the counter value. So what is the counter value? It is here. This dot counter, this dot state dot counter. We can write here this dot state dot counter plus how much? As a 10. So what it will do? The current value of counter will be updated by how much? 10. And after that, it will replace the value of counter variable. It is like a equal to a plus b again. The a is a counter. A plus b is nothing but this dot state dot counter. This dot state dot counter plus the 10. So 10 is coming like a b here. Counter is coming like a. But since you want to update the existing value by 10, so first you have to take the old value plus new value and then assign to the existing variable. So it is like A equal to A plus B. What will happen in this formula? If I write this line, A equal to A plus B. So what happened in this case? The value of A and B will get combined together and replace under which variable? B variable. Similar way here also it is happening. The value of counter plus new counter will get combined together and update under the existing counter. If you can check it, as soon as you click, the number will get increased by 10. As soon as you click, the number will get increased by 10. Increasing. Let us go and check once. See, number is getting increased. But how the value is increasing, that is also we have to think. Come down under the render function. Under the render function, write a alert, and keep call render. RENDER. Keep call render. What is going to happen in this case? Whenever we click on button, whenever we click on the button, this function will be called. Function 1 will come. Function 1 will come and it will call the set state. And set state function will change the value of this variable called counter variable. So you are calling the function 1. Via function 1, you are changing the value of counter variable using the set state. Then how it is reflecting under the browser? For that purpose, I have added here called render. Now let me show you how the render is going to work. See, render has called, the original value is 100. Let me click here. You can see carefully. Once I will click here, render will call. See, when I click here, render is calling. But on button click, which function I have called? See, when I click here, render is calling. Whenever I click, the render function is calling. But question is, on button click, which function I called? Look at here. On button click, I have called the function 1. We are not calling the render anywhere. Are you calling anywhere render? No. But how the alert is coming every time? Because on button click, you call the function 1. Function 1 has come. Once the function 1 has come, then under the function 1, you have used a predefined function called set state. We have used a function called set state. Now, what is the functionality of set state? The functionality of set state is it used to change the value of a state variable. It used to update the value of a state variable. What is the state variable? Counter, user, city. These all are the state variable. It used to change the value of a state variable. Okay, so button click we call the function 1, and using that set state we change the value of counter variable. Then where we have not called anywhere render, how the render got called? That is called life cycle function. Okay, life cycle function will get called. Render function will get called every time whenever you modify the value of a state variable. Whenever you modify the value of a state variable using set state function, whenever you modify the value of a state variable using set state function, whenever you modify the value of a state variable using set state function, what will happen? Render will be called. Whenever you change the value of a state variable using the set state, whenever you change the value of a state variable, which function will be called? Render function will call. That is happening here. And once the render function will call, what it will do? It will print the value of your variable. See, first time it was 100. When I click, it's become 110. After 110, again render will call. Now what is the value of counter variable? 110, it will get changed. Again you will click, function 1 will come, 110 plus 10, 120 will happen. Now 120 will happen. Now 120 it will happen. After that again render function will come. Render function will print again how much? 120. So every time whenever you change the value of a state variable using the set state function, what will happen? The render function will call automatically. Because of that, whenever I am changing the value of this variable, you can see what is happening. Render function is calling. Render function will come and it will display change those variable whose value is changed. So hope you understood that. When the render function will call. When the render function will call. I told you just 20 plus times. Render variable, render function will call whenever you change the value of a state variable using set state function. Okay, using set state function, whenever you change the value of a state variable, render function will come automatically to check any modification is there. If modification is there, it will display in the browser. Go then. Now, I hope you have written this function one. Check now, your value is increasing or not. Okay, ready? Come down. Create one more button. Create one more button. On the click of that, call the function 2. Call the function this dot function 2 and minus by 10. Write a function here, the counter minus by 10. The counter minus by 10. Okay, now let's come. We can write a function 2. Function 2 equal to this dot set state. Inside that we will write counter colon this dot counter minus 10. This dot state dot counter. This dot state dot counter. Happening minus. First button click, plus will happen. Second button click, minus will happen. So we'll go here. Click will happen minus. Click will happen again plus. Right. That is called first example. In that we understood how to create a state variable and how to change the value of a state variable and how to call the function. This dot function, it is similar like class component, functional component. Everywhere this will get applied, everywhere this will get applied. Okay. Okay, come and create the next file. Class2.js. We can take the copy of class 1. File name is class2. It is the copy of class 1. Class2, function 1, function 2 you can remove. Don't keep that. Next, change the class name. Class2, my class2, my class2. My class2, my class2. Okay, my class2, my class2. After that, remove this. The array what we have created, we will create the array of some multiple elements. Example, book list is one array. Book list is one array. Book list is an array. Create one more array. User list. Create one more array. Company list or company. Now everywhere we will be storing the five records, 5 books, 5 user, 5 company. Let's go to the book array. HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript, jQuery, React.js, users, give some name, Ganesh, 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 Rohit, Madhu, Madan, Manasi, company, write some company name, Infosys, TCS, Pro, software, Cisco, CTS. Where? No. Semicolon is not required. Semicolon is not required. Okay. Now come down below. Inside this row container, you have to create a row. Inside this container, you have to create a row, division, class name, equal to row, division, class name equal to call hyphen lg hyphen 3. 333, we have to use 3 times. 3, 3 and 3. 4 times. Then it will become as a 12. Okay, ready? Come under the first 3, follow the H4 tag, print total books, this dot, state dot, booklist dot map, booklist dot length, this dot state dot booklist dot length, next this dot state dot users this dot user dot length or user list dot length. One more h3 we have, h4 we can print here for company dot length. Total company this dot state dot company dot length. Okay, hope ready. Now let's come. We need to import this file. We need to import this file under the app.js and we need to add under the routing. We need to import this file under the app.js and add under the routing. Length is added. Come to the app.js file. Import here my class 2 from my class 2 from my class 2.js. After that, my class 2, my class 2. Below we can add a link again with the path with my class 2. You can call here my class 2. It is here my class 2. It should give the length book 6, user 6 and company 6. Why 6 for me? All I have 6 only. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. Yes. Let me add one extra user. Raj. It's a difference. Okay, hope ready. So length is different or not? Length is different now. Go to the first four. Inside the first three, use the map function that is called this dot, state dot, this dot, state dot, booklist dot, map. This dot state dot booklist dot map. Inside that, we can use the name of the book as well as index of the book. Map is also same, no changes. Only this dot state is applied. In the React, you used to write booklist.map. Now what you are writing? This dot state dot booklist.map. Return we tag, and it will hold the index plus one dot name, index plus one dot name. Next, after that, class name equal to text hyphen primary. In that same way, you do the print for all three. Same way we have to write the function in other place also. Printio is coming in the center. We can write text left. Text center is written here in the beginning. All values are coming here. We'll print the same way. Other array also. This is called user list. User list dot map. Similar way. Company dot map. Name and index. Right. Now create one more array called city name. Create an array of city, 6, 7 city and display in the last 3. Create an array of 6, 7 city name and display in the last 3. Total city. Display, create an array of city. How you have created an array of other values. Arrays of book, user, company have created. Similar way, create a array here called city and print the list of city. Print the list of city. $330, no? You can sit in that room, left side room. What list is happening? Okay, then we will log in tomorrow again. and we see the API in class component, how to implement the API, how to do the input output, and many more.
सर कल रमजान है।
Hello?
हेलो सर।
Hello?
सर कल रमजान है।
रमजान है तो कल छुट्टी कर सकते हैं.
ओके सर।
We'll send the message in the group tomorrow.
ओके सर।
Okay, then we can log out. We'll update you. Mostly we'll keep holiday only tomorrow.